up, keep your head up. You're not alone. Keep your head up, keep your head up. We're halfway home.
It's time for Your Voices of Hope, a video podcast program that offers straight talk on some of the major issues facing us today: addiction, domestic violence, homelessness, human trafficking, and suicide. But more than that, it's our desire to inspire hope. Now, your host, Michelle Byer.
Welcome to Your Voices of Hope. I am your host, Michelle Byer. Today, my guest is Kay Raga from National Alliance of Mental Health and Illness, which is AKA NAMI. Hi, Kay.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
How are you? You
Good.
doing good? So you're still in the office there, but you're the big boss. What is your title?
So I'm the executive director, but we are all working from home. We have been since March, but we're still answering our phones, getting all our voicemails, and we're still conducting virtual support groups and education programs.
That's your home?
This is my home.
It looks just like an office. You poor thing.
Yeah, so we have a home office in our second room. So yes, I'm all set up here, almost identical to what I have at the office. So everything is good.
Oh, wow. I love working from home. I told Julie, I said, I'll work from home for the rest of my life. So
Okay.
I love it. But so tell us what NAMI is, and explain to everybody in case, most people should know that listen to this, but there's a lot that may not.
So I always say we're one of the best kept secrets in town. NAMI stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and it's the largest grassroots organization that came to be in 1979, so we're turning 41 years old this year.
Nice.
And it really came out of a need by a couple of moms in Wisconsin who had adult children with schizophrenia and were very frustrated because they couldn't find supports for themselves or their loved ones. So out of this movement became around someone's kitchen table. Fast forward, now is a national organization. NAMI National is out of Arlington, Virginia. We have state affiliates throughout the United States, including ours, which is NAMI, Ohio. And then NAMI Stark County is the local county affiliate. And throughout Ohio, there are over 50 affiliates. Some may represent a county. Some may be, 4 counties, depending on the location. So we're very lucky to have a NAMI here in Stark County, Summit County, Wayne Homes, Columbiana, Wayne, Tuscarora. So we're very rich in NAMI resources in our area.
Which I love NAMI. I love the people in it as well. I love working with all of you. And the peer support that you do have there, there's none other. And I've worked with a few of them. Tell us about your programs that you offer.
So NAMI is very unique. We actually have 5 paid staff and around 90 volunteers. And those volunteers are trained by the NAMI National Curriculum, either trained by NAMI Ohio or our affiliate, to be trained to facilitate our support groups or education programs. What's very unique about NAMI is we serve those folks impacted by mental illness, which we refer to as peers, and we also serve family members. And when we say family members, doesn't always mean biological. We know a lot of family and natural supports are not our biological families, but they're there for ourselves and our loved ones. So that's our scope. We have services. Everything we do is at no charge. So we currently have support groups that are just for peers. And we also have one family support group. And then we have 2 support groups that are for both family members and peers. One of which is on Sunday night. The other is DRA, Dual Recovery Anonymous, for those impacted by mental illness and addiction. So we have a variety of support groups at different days, different times. And with the pandemic, we are not having any in-person services or meetings at this time. So everything is hosted through Zoom, which I'm sure everyone has heard a lot about. We've had no security issues with Zoom, being Zoom bombed or those type of things. So our facilitators have the tools in place that if someone would come in and they're not appropriate, they could be removed from the group, or we could handle those situations just as we do at an in-person support group when maybe someone's not appropriate to be at a group or something happens. So we have the safeguards in place for our in-person and our virtual support groups. Again, everything is free and everything is listed on our website, which is NAMI-starkcounty.org.
So I'm a mom and I have a child that I've just discovered has a mental illness, and some of the doctors, they just don't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving you a scenario.
Right.
Some of these doctors, they really don't explain to you what mental illness is, and that's no scenario. They don't tell you what the diagnosis really means, because I had no idea what bipolar meant. They slapped this title on me when I was in Heartland, when I first, because I spent some time in Heartland, I don't know, 11 years ago. And they said, oh, well, you're bipolar and you have mania or manic depression. And I'm like, okay, that's great. And I was still an alcoholic. I was drinking. Right. So whatever, take this med, go here. But I didn't know what that meant. So now you have a parent coming in and their child just got this diagnosis and they're looking for help. A lot of people are afraid to ask their doctors what that means. Mm-hmm. So they want to know and they want to go to a support group. How would NAMI help them navigate all that?
Well, actually, we have several different ways to help someone navigate the system, whether it's a parent like myself who have been doing this for 32 years. Both of my children were diagnosed at around the age of 2.5, and so that tells you how old they are now. But NAMI is a place where all of us have that lived experience. Like I stated, there's 5 of us as employees. We all have lived experience ourselves, with our families, with both, could be. So it's one of those places where you're going to call and you're going to say, I've been doing this for 32 years, I'm tired. Or you're going to call and you're going to say, my son, was 21, has been an overachiever all of his life, went off to college and had their first psychotic break. We get it. It's non-judgmental. We believe we have more in common than not, because so many times your story sounds a lot like my story. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Heartland. We've had staff at Heartland since 2012. Mm-hmm. Right now it's a little tricky because of no visitors, but we are still having 2 support groups using technology. So nice. We're still doing support groups in Heartland for 2 of the units. But we have Jewel Opperman is our outreach liaison, and she works with families and patients at Heartland. If they've signed a release, Jewel will outreach the families. If they haven't signed a release and it's appropriate, Jewel will approach the patient to see if they'd like us to outreach someone. If someone is calling, maybe their child is at Akron Children's, again, first time break, those type of things. Robin Holland has come on board as our system navigator.
Ooh, I love Robin.
Yeah, I mean, we're just blessed with so many amazing people. Robin can help navigate this system. Whether your child is an adolescent or elementary, or your child's in your 30s, it's okay to contact us and see what we can help recommend or do referrals, those type of things. I think the other piece of that is just having someone to talk to. It may be the first time someone has ever had someone listen. It may be the first time they've ever said out loud, my son has bipolar disorder, or my daughter just was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and I'm lost. And that's okay. We understand. We're not going to be that environment that said, well, you should have spanked some more, or you're a bad parent. That's not what's going to happen. We're going to help you find the resources. We can refer you to our support groups, which are ongoing, one-on-one, just to have those conversations. We have education programs, which, again, we can't do in person, but we're doing online virtually. So with that, we have Family to Family, which is an 8-week course for family members with adult loved ones, spouses, siblings, husbands, wives, children. And that is facilitated by NAMI trained facilitators who have lived experience. They've got the family members. They've been doing this a long time. So with that class, you learn a lot from what is mental illness, the different diagnoses, medications, coping skills, problem solving, how to advocate for your loved one.
Right, that's big.
So with that initial program, NAMI developed what's called peer-to-peer. That program is an 8-week course for those folks that have a diagnosis. And again, we're going to go over those same type of things, but do a little bit more goal setting, just to work on recovery. Again, that's facilitated by folks that are in recovery. The 2 classes we have going now, both couples met in Family to Family. One is married and the other's engaged. So good things come out of our peer-to-peer classes.
Nice.
NAMI Basics is for folks who have children under 18. Again, the diagnosis, the different medications, coping skills, problem solving. We touch on a little bit about the school system, juvenile justice system, how to advocate for your child. So we have embraced, again, Zoom. We take that a little step further with our security, and we do ask people to register by calling our line at the office, 330-455-2624. And we send you the meeting ID in a password. So we really do lock down the education programs so it is a safe, secure environment to you to have open discussions about some topics that are pretty tough.
And mental illness is really a tough topic because the stigma's still there. You know, as hard as we work on fighting that stigma, when you hear the word bipolar, as simple as that, people don't think I have it. When you hear schizophrenia, people think you're nuts,
right?
For lack of a better word.
If you think about just listening to TV programs, if you watch Criminal Minds, which I've kind of gotten away from, but their 6-second promo is schizophrenic, psychotic, serial killer. When the truth is, most of our folks with mental illness are more likely to be a victim of a crime than for every serial killer, to all of our friends and family being serial killers, which, just isn't true. We talked about this in our family-to-family class last week, the stigma. Watching the news, and I heard it yesterday on the weather. This crazy weather. Isn't this crazy? So sometimes I'll send, there's a nice little image that I send, and it's politically correct, but think about using a different word than crazy, in your newscast, in your weather forecast, because, yeah.
I have a tendency to use those words too. And I think we're just so used to it, and I don't associate those with mental illness, but yet, we really should. I'll say, "Oh, that's insane." That's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you look at that word, that's a bad word.
Yeah. It's part of the stigma. It's just out there. And people are afraid to self-disclose because they're afraid to lose jobs, relationships, those type of things. So it really is still very stigmatizing. The other thing is when I do presentations or classes, those type of things, is you'll talk to a family member and all of a sudden say, but he's so smart.
I know.
And mental illness has nothing to do with intelligence. In fact, I find quite the opposite. Usually our folks have a higher intelligence, and it makes it even tougher to get them to stay compliant with medication and because they're always working the system. I hate to say work in the system, but I know from my experience with my children, they were always working the angle to figure out how to not take their meds or do those type of things. So I found it more challenging with my kids, and it had nothing to do with intelligence. I mean, their intelligence was not stymied at all. So,
and I know that to be true, and because we have a couple grandkids that the same, they can figure out they find that little crack,
mm-hmm.
and they slip through it.
Yeah.
Now I know better, but Gary doesn't know better, and he's like, okay, so because Grandpa's got this huge little melting heart. So, but now people think automatically that once you're diagnosed with schizophrenia, that you're done, your life is over, my kid is this, or I am this. And that is so not true. No fully functional people.
The majority of people with a diagnosis are working, raising families, having productive lives.
And how is that? How can they do that, yet we know of others that aren't functioning? What is the difference?
Well, I think it's just, statistically, there are going to be a percentage of folks that are not able to do that. But, the beauty of NAMI is we've seen folks who have not worked for many years come back, take a NAMI class or peer-to-peer, become a teacher for the class, become employed, go back to school, get married. So we see that as such a starting point for folks. Maybe you don't want to be employed, but you want to teach our class, or you want to facilitate a support group. That's fine. But we do know people do want to give back. But we also know there's times in recovery where they're not able to, they need to take a break. And we're okay with that. Self-care is number one in our office. We also have Cheryl Falcone, our program coordinator.
I love her.
And Cindy Kissick is our outreach coordinator. And, you know, I keep an eye, a watch on our folks, and I'll look, do you need to take tomorrow off? You know, do you need to work from home tomorrow?
Yeah.
Because self-care is so important. And with this pandemic, you know, we've learned to change our whole way of doing business. And we have check-in Tuesday, where if somebody wants to call a meeting, we call a meeting, and, you know, we Zoom, you know, and
Right.
we laugh and we catch up and we check in with each other. So we really are a family, along with our volunteers and everyone that we work with in the community. And I think that's another thing that's been so nice about NAMI is we've really looked at, because we all know there are limitations. A lot of our folks have a limited income, maybe don't have transportation. So for the past several years, we've changed the way that we offer our classes and our groups. We've really tried to look at, where are our folks? Where do we need to be? So our in-person classes are at Coleman Behavioral Health. We have a group at Refuge on Fridays, Hunter House, Gateway, Makeaway, Foundations, you know, Stark State. So we've really expanded our locations and different opportunities. And now, even with the pandemic and folks that would attend a support group every week, who first said, no, I'm not doing technology. Well, now with the Zoom platform, folks can call in. They don't have to have a computer. They don't have to have a smartphone. They can just call in and check in. And our Sunday night group, the facilitator said all of her regulars are now attending
Nice.
using this new technology. So that says a lot, you
Yes,
know.
it does. Yes.
Because the folks just need to check in. They need that safe place. And our Friday night group said they needed more than check-in once a week. So we added a Tuesday night group. So we listen to what our folks are saying. We kind of watch how the attendance is on the groups. We've made a couple changes this week. Even with our DRA group, it was during the day. Now we've moved it to the evening, hoping to get more folks to utilize that. So
Now,
we're very fluid in our thinking.
and I love that, because you have to be,
Yes.
with this. And one of the things I was trying to get at was, and I'm wondering if your peers, or if they try and help out with this mentality of, with this, any diagnosis, I mean, medication, if you take medication, you know, a lot of times, and it's my belief, medication is what helps you stay regulated. Not everybody.
So with medication, we offer the information.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
So with our groups, with our, you know, phone calls, our classes, we really feel, and one of our past folks used this, it's like a buffet. You take away from it what you need. The other beautiful thing about our programs is we offer peer-to-peer at Hunter House and Gateway, and we've had people that have taken it 4 and 5 times. And we're fine with that, because we know each time they're going to take away a little bit more than they did last time, or
Right.
something new. Oh, I didn't hear that last time.
Yep.
So it's a place that you can come back to. Our support groups, if you need to come attend the groups for a few weeks and then you're feeling better and you decide, you know, I'm going to step away, that's okay. 2 months down the road, you need to come back, no questions asked. So we're here, you know, any way we can help. The other thing, Cindy has taken over before this pandemic, as outreach coordinator, is we offer Mental Health 101, which are community presentations. We can do a half hour, we can do 2 hours. We have been, this is so exciting, we are now part of Stark State Police Academy. We do a 4-hour training. which includes our Mental Health 101, which is a 2-hour presentation. And then for 2 hours, our staff take turns sharing their story with the cadets.
Nice.
So we are so excited. We offer that free of charge.
Wonderful.
And I know we have been to ICANN before, and we did the presentation quite a few years ago now. So Julie needs a presentation. But yeah, that's something we can offer free of charge. We don't charge for anything, but it's about educating the community also. So with that, we talk about who we are. We talk about what mental illness is. Executive function, which is a huge piece of mental illness that everyone needs to know.
I agree.
To the different diagnosing. But we've done this presentation for the SRCCC staff. We've done this for group homes. We've done it for community workers at Goodwill. So again, any organization, small or large, during this time, if you need a training for your employees, upper management, your clients, that's something we're available to do during this time. And then when we're back to being in person, we can do in-person presentations also.
And I think that is, I didn't know about this. I think that's an excellent program, especially with police officers, because we use them with ICANN a lot.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we do have clients that have a lot of issues at times. Sometimes things go off balance and we're trying to get them help, or something happened and they're trying to call the police to get help, and that police officer doesn't have the right training. So they're not treating our clients the right way.
We're not de-escalating.
Yeah, they'll set me off when they do that.
So we're also part of the CIT training.
Yes.
We coordinate, Cheryl coordinates a family panel that happens on the first day of training where we share our stories. We're the only NAMI affiliate that I know of where our NAMI families open their homes to officers, corrections officers, dispatch, highway patrol, whoever's taking that intensive 40-hour training. Our families open their home and they share their stories with them. And they're very surprised at some of the neighborhoods because, if they're Canton PD or sheriffs, a lot of times they're seeing our folks downtown. Well, our folks are all over Stark County. They're from all different economic levels, all different zip codes, all different education backgrounds. So it's sometimes a life-changing experience for some of the officers. So we're very involved with that and very proud of our connection with CIT.
Thank God. Thank you for that. Because it does help. And I do have clients that will ask for a CIT officer because they're now aware of them.
Yes.
And they know that they can't be denied one either. However, they're still kind of limited. Not all of the officers are trained yet.
There are limits on the departments on who's available.
Right.
But I know Sheriff Meyer and Canton PD are very committed along with numerous other departments in Stark County.
They're getting there.
There's almost 600 officers, corrections officers, dispatchers trained since 2004. So it's a great resource. The other great resource we have is mobile response. The adult and youth teams through Coleman Crisis. By calling 452-6000 number, adult response or youth response are committed to responding within 30 minutes when they're called. So, and I've been involved with several of those calls, so I know that it happens.
And I use them a lot. I'm actually, I'm smiling as I say that, but actually it's not a happy thing when I have to.
No, but what a wonderful resource.
It
You
is.
know,
It is a wonderful resource.
even if someone is not hospitalized, you know that there's going to be follow-up the next day, and someone is going to be looking in on, you know, the ill person. So,
Right.
yeah, it's been very
So
positive.
through all of this chaos and stay at home and everything, are you seeing more of people just, I don't want to know, I don't say the right words here. I'm seeing a lot more stress, and especially with ADD people and ADHD, I'm seeing them not sleeping for 24 hours and their sleep schedule is off. I had someone in one of our buildings take a temper tantrum the other day that
Oh
she
my.
would not normally do. I mean, I'm starting to see it take a toll on people's mental health. Even people that don't have mental health issues. Are you starting to see any of that?
You know, our calls kind of cycle. So we have not had a huge uptick in calls, but I just
Okay.
know personally, I've had people share that, you know, the isolating, you know, my mom's going to be 95. You know, I got to see her and take her to the doctor. She goes, it's so good to talk to someone because they're isolating. They're not, you know, out of their apartments and different things. So, yes, I think we've tried to be kind of more proactive and keep things positive on our Facebook page. Robin and Cindy have started NAMI Star County Let's Talk. You
Yeah, I
know,
love it.
so there's an online group and Facebook where people can reach out and share. But I think people are spending way more time on social media than if they were in their offices. I know the
Right.
first couple of weeks it was like, okay, I got to stop this because
Right.
like I can't be on here all the time. But it was also that relearning how to do your job in a completely different environment. So
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point, personally, our group is pretty settled in, and some of the unknowns are done. I feel, you know, within a couple of weeks, we were on Zoom and starting meetings and starting support groups. So I'm so proud of our group because it's just been such a shift, but everybody has been just jumped in wherever we need, and I thank all of our, you know, participants, you know, our volunteers and everyone just for, you know, being patient through this. We've had 2 weeks of you know, on virtual classes, so we're doing it, you know, and it's
Yeah,
working. And you're
you
like, you
are.
finish a class and you're like, wow, that actually worked.
You know, and one of the other things that I love about NAMI is you recognize people for the good that they do in the
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
not just your volunteers and employees.
Yeah.
Because you have the once a year NAMI dinner, which did you get to do that?
No,
The
that
award?
was probably one of the most heartbreaking parts of this pandemic.
That's what I thought. It was canceled, wasn't it?
Yes, we were about a week and a half away from our annual volunteer recognition event, and we had to call it. Um, you know, it was just so sad. I know Starkmar was in the middle of a peer supporter training, and on Wednesday afternoon they shut it down, and they're finishing it this week virtually. We had a CIT training scheduled that next week. Everything, the world stopped.
Right.
And unfortunately, our volunteer event was a casualty of that. So at this point, I don't know when we're going to be able to reschedule that. We also had a golf outing scheduled for next month that we've pushed back till August. And our walk committee is talking about, do we need to do a virtual walk this year? So we're really looking ahead at what our options are for different things, even outside of our support groups and education programs, and just that we're being able to continue our work with the support groups and education programs, and connecting with folks one-on-one is, I feel, a great accomplishment. So our team is amazing.
And I was a recipient of one of those Boards of Peer Award, which I proudly display my plaque. I love that. Now, these things cost money. These programs cost money. Where do you get your money? Do you do a lot of fundraising? And you mentioned a walk. What is this?
Yes. So our major funding, we are funded by STARCMAR, the Stark County Mental Health and Addiction Recovery. That's our local mental health board. We also receive grants from, it's called PEGS Foundation in Hudson, Ohio. And then we have annual fundraisers. So last year was our first year for the golf outing. Had a great turnout. I'm very excited to do that again this year. It's pushed back until August. And then we have an annual walk in October. We tentatively have a kickoff breakfast scheduled in August. We'll see if that happens or not. Excuse me. And we usually do some dining for a cause and shopping for a cause, but those are on hold this year. Normally we have Taggart's, Papagiro's, the Edge Boutique that help us out by doing fundraisers. And we just really made the call that with these businesses taking such a hit this year, we so appreciate their support, but we want to defer their support for a year because I know they're all struggling.
Right.
But we are going to recognize them as continued supporters. So
that's so nice. So
I think
is there a way that people can donate to you?
Yes. There's two different ways. One is our website, NAMIstarkCounty.org. There's a donate button. Or if you go on our website, it has our address, 121 Cleveland Avenue Southwest, Canton 44702. And if you'd like to mail in a check, or probably a check is better, you can send donations to us directly. And
this walk, if it happens, this will be on the website as well, the way to sign up and everything for that too. So when Gary posts this video up on my website, I will make sure that the link for NAMI is up there with it.
Thank you.
So,
and if folks are on Facebook, we'd love for you to like our Facebook page, NAMIstarkCounty.com. And then there's also NAMI Stark County Let's Talk, which is the new group facilitated by Robin and Cindy. So
I love all those little memes she's putting up. I'm stealing some of them.
Yes, I know. That's okay.
They're great.
Yes.
They're great. So is there anything that you'd like to leave us with today? Something that we haven't talked about, something that you'd like to make sure we all know?
One of NAMI's mottos is you're not alone. And I think the other piece that comes out of our peer-to-peer is we have more in common than not. If you just need someone to talk to, if you're struggling, you have a family member that's struggling, we get it. It's a safe place. We know that this comes out of our family to family. We know that mental illness is not a casserole disease. We know that our loved ones, when they're in the hospital, no one sends us flowers, cards, bring us home over a casserole.
Mhm.
The stigma is there. It shouldn't be, but we know it is. But you won't find that stigma with us. We get it. And you're not alone. And like I said, it's a safe place. We've got such an amazing team that has such a wealth of knowledge and lived experience. It's just a joy. And they are family. We are the NAMI family. And, I have the best job in the world. So.
And you do get that sense of family when you walk in, whenever I'm near, you get that sense of family. You really do. So
yeah,
you're not just saying that.
It's an amazing group. Yes.
It is. And I know a couple of the people there, and yeah, I love Cheryl, Pickles.
Yeah, Pickles.
I love her, and so it's a great group of women. So, Kay, I really want to thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Michelle.
And this has been just so wonderful for you to be able to take some time out. And I know you've got to just be busy, busy, busy.
It's controlled madness.
So I want to thank you again, Kay, from the National Alliance of Mental Illness, NAMI, for joining us today. And I want to thank all of you for joining me again for your Voices of Hope. And again, I'm Michelle Beyer. If you would like to sign up and be a guest, go to Your Voices of Hope and scroll down to the bottom of the page. And there's a application you can fill out, or you can go to my website, my Facebook page, Michelle, Voices of Hope, and you can sign up on my message, send me a little message there. So thank you very much for joining us again today, Kay, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
You've been listening to Your Voices of Hope with your host, Michelle Beyer. This podcast and earlier programs are available for viewing on our Facebook page, Your Voices of Hope, or our website, yourvoicesofhope.com. A new podcast is uploaded and ready to view every Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m.
Keep your head up, keep your head up. You're not alone.